Team Fortress 2, a game where you can outsmart and kill your enemies with your fellow mercenaries. These guys know intimately how to snap necks and gun down enemies on the battlefield. But if mercenary work doesn't pay all the bills, maybe they can use their lived experience in a field that rewards it. Therapy. First, we need to define what makes a good therapist. Number 1. Can they listen? A therapist who doesn't listen and simply tells you what to do is not a therapist, that is a preacher. Number 2, can they empathize? Therapists really need to get into the mind of their patients, and not with a hacksaw. Number 3, are they self-aware? Do they know how their own lived experiences affect others? I'll be rating them on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. 5 being the best therapist you've ever had, and 1 being they should have their license revoked. Now, on to our beloved characters.
Think fast, Chuckle Nuts!
I cannot describe to you how sketchy this would have to be. Scout's the most loudmouth person I know. He could not handle having to quietly listen to someone for an hour. He wouldn't pass the interview simply because they'd ask him one question and he'd spend 30 minutes answering it. But this guy isn't the type to give up, and he'd probably start his own therapist office out of spite. Offices are expensive though, so he'd probably end up in the cheapest, dingiest garage money can buy. No insurance accepted. As for the sessions, he'd say a lot without saying anything at all. His ability to use big words that even he doesn't know the meaning of should be an Olympic sport. You'd ask him what he thinks about your situation, and he'd go, "Listen, I don't really know what to do about this situation, but you should see a professional about that. And don't even get me started on if you were a woman." You try to talk about the trauma involving your father, and he'd remark about how, "Oh, that sucks," and how he's sure there are better men out there, maybe even the man sitting in front of you. We can learn one thing from this though: never trust a smooth-talking Bostonian. 1 star.
Get a haircut, hippie!
I'm gonna level with you, son. Soldier wouldn't make it past the first interview. He'd start ranting about the lack of patriotism these days and get forcibly removed from the complex. 1 star. Pyro's got one thing on their side, and it's the fact that they're a great listener. Canonically, Pyro has been the CEO of a company, so he'd pass the interview no problem. In fact, their ability to listen might be the reason the interviewer hires them, though I don't think they would last very long in the field. I have no doubt they'd be able to empathize, but the mask may pose some problems. For those that don't know, Pyro's mask distorts the entirety of the world in LSD-like visions. You'd say something like, "I'm so full of sadness and pain, I don't know what to do," and the mask would change it to say something like,
"I'm so full of
happiness, joy,
I don't know what to do."
I guess that destroys the self-awareness aspect of a therapist. 3 stars. I'm gonna be honest here. There is an 80% chance that you walk into the therapist's office and he's already plastered. And if that's the case, then there is a non-zero chance that you leave his office covered in puke. I'm sure there are plenty of covert alcoholics doing a great job in the therapy field today. Just not this guy. You tell him you want to talk about your daddy issues again, and he'd take the longest swig of his life. Even in the comics, it shows that he'd settle for hydrogen peroxide if he had to. However, if he's sober, his understanding would be fantastic. He'd probably act more like a friend you gossip with than a therapist. He watches soap operas with his demon sword, for Pete's sake. You want to rant about your ex? He'll get mad at them for you. You want to talk about your time at work? He'll share a related story, probably where he blew someone up. The problem lies in his lack of patience. In the field of explosives, there isn't a whole lot of time for patience. You kind of just throw stuff around, light it up, and run. So having to accept that healing is a process might cause a bit of tension. Some people don't see their bad behaviors or traumas for years. He might get frustrated at you for not making progress, but it's because he really wants you to get better. And for that, I commend him. 2 stars.
belonging!
A man of few words, yet understanding of many, Heavy is a contender for the top of the list. He'd probably work for some kind of bilingual therapy agency, as everybody knows multiple languages on your resume makes you a more attractive candidate. His career would be as long as it needed to be. When Heavy has a goal, nothing stands in his way. As for his work, his ability to listen is unparalleled. If there are any distortions in your thinking or shortcomings that you're not seeing, he will point them out to you. He doesn't mean to be harsh. He's just committed to helping you get better. His level of empathy is just as high as his ability to listen. He was dedicated to protecting and providing for his family in sub-zero temperatures with bears double his size without a second thought. If that isn't empathy, I don't know what is. If he gave you bad advice, he'd own up to it and apologize. Something rare among the mercenaries. He'd make sure you're doing okay and work with you through it. Despite all he's been through, his heart continues to shine. He may not give you an essay of everything that needs to be fixed, but he'll say what needs to be said, and that's enough. 4 stars.
Gotcha, Chuckwagon!
Engineer is the most laid back of the bunch. In his official video, Meet the Engineer, he sits in front of a fire playing guitar while being attacked on all sides. He lets his robots that he built do the fighting for him. He's smart, witty, and does the hard work first to make things easier for himself later. That, my friends, is self-awareness in action. However, he is from the South, and that comes with its own mindset. One of his voice lines is literally,
Take it like a man, shorty.
This mindset would obviously translate to the therapist's office. If you're a man, sorry bud, that's life. You gotta be a little less sensitive about it. But if you're a woman, he'd probably be a little more lenient with you. Regardless of these nuances though, I think he'd be one of the better therapists. He'd lay out the tough parts for you right away so you can prepare yourself. His treatment plan would be specially tailored to your strengths and weaknesses. In the pilot expiration date, Soldier gets a little rowdy, and Engineer is the only one brave enough to talk him down for it. No matter how strange, unconventional, or stupid you think your problems are, he will treat them all as very real. He doesn't let his past bother him too much, and he'd be able to model what truly moving on looks like. 4 stars.
I'm going to saw through your bones!
This man does not have a medical license. In fact, I don't even think he got his degree. But he's an expert in manipulation tactics, which means he would pass the interview simply because he knows how to make his words fancy. He managed to swindle the devil himself. He can swindle anyone. He's essentially the con man of the medical world. You'd see his ad in the paper time and time again, his stupid smile staring back at you like an omen from the great beyond. He'd terrify you, but his rates are so reasonable, and his office is so close. Maybe it's worth taking the chance? Listening is his strong suit, but you can be guaranteed that he would use that information for evil. He does enough physical experiments. Why not dip his toe into psychological ones as well? You'd be his guinea pig, and before you comment, not in a sexy way. This guy has surgically implanted other people's souls into himself, so he could take a piece of your actual human soul and you wouldn't notice. He'd make you feel like you finally found a therapist that understands you, and before you know it, you're trapped in a warehouse strapped to a desk getting your organs rearranged. Wait, no, not like that. 1 star. Do not see this therapist if you value your sanity and your organs. Sniper would be a straight shooter, but he wouldn't last more than a couple sessions. One of his voice lines is,
Professionals have standards.
so I'd be inclined to believe he'd try at least at the beginning. I doubt he'd know how to fix your problems, but he sure would tell you what they are. There would be no elaboration, no therapy speak, and no comfort. Just pure observational skills in the making. His no-nonsense attitude would put a shock to your system. His razor-sharp focus as a sniper would make him one of the better active listeners in the group, but his empathy is dubious, and his self-awareness is mild. He would get a C+ on his performance review at the end of the quarter. For people that just need someone to tell them what to work on, this is your guy. But for anyone else that needs any type of reassurance or comfort, he's gonna shoot your anxiety right into the sun. 3 stars. There's a reason the sniper job requires little to no social interaction.
Off to visit your mother!
I need to paint you a picture for this one. You're sitting in the therapist office waiting room. You're called to the end of the hall. It's poorly lit. A few light bulbs are out. Upon entering and sitting down, you see your therapist has a cigarette in his mouth, smoked about halfway down. The room stinks. You ask him politely if he could put out his cigarette. He looks at you and raises an eyebrow. He puts down his notes. Perhaps we should work on dealing with things we don't like, he says. You narrow your eyes at him. He picks his notes back up. Consider this exposure therapy. If he feels like it, he could do the job really well. His entire thing is doing extensive research and physically becoming the enemy. Empathy comes with the job. He listens closely when he needs to. He's even aware of his own past and understands how it affects him today. But the trouble spot is actually getting him to care about you enough to give you proper treatment. In the comics, when a child was in danger in the mall, Spy gave him very explicit instructions on how to defend himself and made sure the child was safe. He spoke to the child with the most understanding he could and listened well. But if you're an average Joe or Josephine, or you're a very sexy lady, he won't do a damn thing. 5 stars potentially.
Saxton Hale!
If you were in a manic episode, Saxton Hale will be either the best or the worst worst thing that has ever happened to you. His nature is to simply roll with the punches, and give as many as he can to every creature he sees. He'd probably be supportive of everything you do, as long as it involves fighting or risky behavior. Encouragement is one of his strong suits. Hell, he might even go with you. Your ex has been and you want to kill him? Let's do it together! And also jump out of my plane to do it! That's empathy, baby. However, his listening skills are lacking. He'd only hear what he wants to hear and discard the rest. He may even call your venting yapping. You talk for too long and he'll yawn and ask you to get to the good part. Not much self-awareness there, pal. Now, there is an elephant in the room that I must address. Saxton Hale refuses to wear a shirt to any function, and a therapist's office is no exception. Just him and his teeny tiny little booty shorts. I don't know about you, but if my therapist walks in with no shirt and booty shorts, I'd already start sweating. Not good for addressing problems, but 5 stars anyways. Miss Pauling's therapy style is like if your worst teacher in high school became a therapist. Therapy isn't a safe space for emotions for her. Therapy is a place where you figure out what the problem is, make a plan to fix it, and then assign homework each week to figure out if the plan is working. If it's not, you must regroup and find a different plan. She'd excel greatly in listening to you. She would understand what you're going through. She'd be patient with what you're saying and hear you out fully. But unless you're the type that wants to view your therapy plan through spreadsheets, Miss Pauling is better in a different office environment. 2 stars. Now that we've discussed everyone, I would like to proudly announce that today's winner of Best Therapist Award goes to Spy, for his ability to fake it till he makes it. Getting him out of his shell might be difficult, but once you do, he'll do everything in his power to make you get better. Even if he doesn't like you, his ability to camouflage and get the job done will help you anyways. Thank you to everyone who was nominated. And remember, fistfights are only allowed in the parking lot out back. We'll see you next year! Hopefully this helped you decide which therapist you would jive with. It definitely helped feed my YN delusions. Just kidding, maybe. I might be seeing through rose-colored glasses, but there are some glasses that can help you see 2020. And that's with this video's sponsor, Firmoo. I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I can't see. There, I said it. Sometimes I go outside and I can't tell the difference between a tree and a bush. But with today's sponsor, Firmoo, my life has changed. Firmoo is an online glasses marketplace that is filled to the brim with fantastic, stylish frames. Statistically speaking, with this many frame options, you're bound to find something you like. And that's exactly what I did. These bad boys are the MP37698s. They've got a purple frame with sleek gold accents, and there's even engravings on the side. Sometimes glasses are so weighty that they leave dots on your nose, or they're so light that if you even breathe on them wrong, they'll shatter. But these glasses don't feel like that. They feel like normal optometrist quality, but without the high price tag. These bad boys were only $26.99. Now, I know you guys have difficulty scrolling on the internet and finding what you're looking for, but the Firmoo website is easy to navigate. Everything is separated into cute little categories, even their collaborations. What's that? You were excited about me saying collaborations? Firmoo does themed drops occasionally, like the anime themed frames, or the Zodiac themed frames. Like I said, there are frames for every person. Now you might be saying, mockspade, I love these frames, but how do I know if they look good on me? Well, Firmoo has a virtual try-on feature that lets you upload a picture of your face and show you what the glasses would look like on. And if you need these darn things to see, filling out your prescription has never been easier. All you gotta do is type in the little numbers in the little form that they give you, and bada bing bada boom, new glasses, baby. Like what you hear? Click the link in my description and use my code IDQE50 for 50% off your first purchase. That's IDQE50 for 50% off your first purchase. The code only lasts a year, so if you need new frames, might as well do it. Thank you to Firmoo for sponsoring today's video, and now back to me. Thank you for watching my video! Like and subscribe if you want to see more of my face or hear more of my voice. I have a music channel if you want to see me and my music journey. I released an EP 2 years ago, and it's good, so give it a listen. I even made a Hatsune Miku cover of one of the songs on said EP, so if you want to hear that, it's on the music channel. Also, on most streaming platforms, if you want to find me, it's under mockspade. Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, whatever. Also, I have a shop in the description that I recently reopened if you'd like to give me some money in exchange for cute little trinkets. Everything will be linked in the description, so you don't have to worry about typing anything into the Google search bar. Alright, take care of yourselves, drink water, have a good day, do your best.